Hello, I'm Andrew Axum, and I serve as the Gatherings and Mission Director at Nona Church. Welcome to our first Dwell Devotional. This is going to be a weekly reflection on what we've been hearing as we spend the next 30 days in the Dwell app, listening through the Psalms as a church together. And the Psalms are these really beautiful, emotionally charged and truth-laden poetry that we find right in the middle of our Bibles. And I think it's such a pertinent time for us to be in the Psalms together. You know, every day that I've woken up this week, there has been a steady stream of information and updates and hot takes on Facebook that is right next to me, waiting for me as soon as I wake up. Of course, you know that is my phone. And if, like me, in the morning you open up your phone and you refresh your news feed and you see what's there, you find new updates about what's changed, what's happening, what's canceled. And almost every time that I look at the news again and again and again, I get a gut punch of uncertainty and worry because the future is so unknown and I have no clue what's going to happen next. And life just feels a little bit different right now. You know, that feeling of certainty and stability that most of us had even just 2 weeks ago seems to have vanished into thin air. You know, some of us are stuck at home right now without work, wondering how we're going to make it in the coming weeks and in the coming months. Some of us are self-quarantined at home, working remotely and trying to figure out, how do I work from home while my kids are at home too, trying to do their school work as well. Some of us are stuck at home in the most dire of situations, trying to figure out how we're going to survive on our last roll of toilet paper. Well, wherever you are and whatever your situation is like at home, I know that all of us are asking this same question. How do I make life work right now? How do I make life work right now when everything around me has changed and everything seems unstable and unknown? You know, this question is actually right where the Psalms begin, and it's actually what the Psalms are all about. Psalm 1 and 2, which we listened to on day 1 of our listening plan on Dwell, they serve as an introduction to this whole book of Psalms. And Psalms it's a collection of 150 songs written by God's people throughout history, and that were arranged into the order that we have them here today at a time when God's people were in a really tough spot, at a time when God's people had actually been defeated. Their king had been taken away, all of order and normal life had been taken away, and they were actually carried away themselves as exiles to live in a foreign land under foreign authority. And they found themselves asking a similar question to us: how do we make life work right now in this situation? What's really interesting is that at the beginning of Psalm 1 and at the end of Psalm 2, really as bookends to this two-part introduction to the collection of songs we have in the book of Psalms, there's this word that's repeated, and it's the word blessed. Let's look at how Psalm 1 begins and how Psalm 2 ends and find this word together. Psalm 1 begins this way: "Blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the wicked, nor stands in the way of sinners, nor sits in the seat of scoffers. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and on his law he meditates day and night." And then Psalm 2 ends this way: "Serve the Lord with fear, and rejoice with trembling. Kiss the Son, lest he be angry, and you perish in the way, for his wrath is quickly kindled. Blessed are all who take refuge in him." See, this word blessed that we find at the beginning and the end of this introduction to Psalms, it really is the key. It's the purpose of the whole book that we're going to be listening to together. And this word blessed, its meaning goes far beyond some of the common ways that we use it. Its meaning goes beyond the throwaway phrase, "too blessed to be stressed." And it goes way far beyond that southern backhanded comfort of, "well, bless your heart, darling." So, you know, the word blessed in this context, it refers to a life, to a way of being that is truly happy, that's full, that's content, that's good and abundant and right. You know, it's this goal, it's this life that seems so unattainable right now as the coronavirus pandemic has disrupted our best plans and our best thoughts for how life should work. As our families and our businesses, our schools, our economy, our healthcare systems, and our emotional and our spiritual health seem to be disrupted and ever changing. And so how do we make life work right now? In this moment, in this season, how do we get to experience and live the blessed life? One of the things that I have found so comforting as I've read and listened through the book of Psalms, and that I hope that we find comforting as we spend the next 30 days listening through the book of Psalms, is that the blessed life, which we all desire, we're not told that that blessed life only happens when our life is free of stress or pain or worry or anxiety or uncertainty, but that it's in the middle of those things that we can actually find the blessed life, because the blessed life is not contingent upon our circumstances, but as the Psalms tell us, it's contingent upon how we delight in God's word and how we depend on God's presence. See, in the midst of a news cycle that demands our attention and that sucks the life out of our soul, Psalm 1 tells us that God's word is a stream of living water that refreshes our souls, that replaces our fears with truth, and that replaces our anxiety with peace. And so we're to delight in it, to love it, to meditate on it, to soak and sit in it. In Psalm 2, see, it tells us that in the midst of the stress of figuring out our short-term and our long-term plans of how we're going to make it work and how we're going to get by, Psalm 2 tells us in the middle of that God's presence is a refuge. It's a safe place. That we don't have to figure it all out of our own wisdom and our own strength, but that God is fully in control. He is all powerful and He is never wrong. And that the safest place we could be is in His hands and in His plan. And so we can't make life work, not really, unless we are delighting in God's word and depending on God's presence. That is how we get to experience the blessed life. This is the lesson of Psalm 1 and 2, and I believe that this is what we're going to find over the next many days as we continue to listen in, to soak in the Psalms. And so this is why we're listening to the Psalms together. This is why we've given you access to the Dwell app, so that together as a church family, we can delight in God's word and we can be in God's presence as one and process what we're learning from Him together. If you haven't yet started listening, don't worry, don't fret, don't be anxious about having to try and catch up. No problems there. Jump in whenever you want to. You can start and you can sign up using the link below, and I can't wait for you to get started. And if you've already begun and you're tracking along with us, I hope that you're beginning to experience some of the things that makes the Dwell app, this audio Bible, so beautiful and so helpful, as there's all these original voices that we can listen to, these real readers, and there's different settings and background music that we can use to really enhance our experience in God's Word. My personal favorite reader, if you're looking for a place to start, is Felix from East Africa and Rosie from Northern England. If you are enjoying a particular reader or there's something about the Dwell app that's been helpful to you, we'd love to hear what's been good for you. So please leave us a thought in the comments below. Next week, we will gather together again for our second Dwell devotional. But in the meantime, let's delight in God's word together. Let's soak in the Psalms, and let's rest and find peace in God's presence. Be blessed.